US Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump have held their only planned debate of this year's presidential campaign. US network ABC hosted the first personal encounter of the two contestants in Philadelphia, which is in the highly competitive swing state of Pennsylvania. We'll go to Washington for analysis in just a moment, but first, here's Donald Trump attacking Kamala Harris on migration by repeating an unproved allegation about irregular migrants.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
Donald Trump was asked also if he had any regrets over his role in the Capitol riot on January the 6th, 2021. Trump didn't answer that question, but here's Kamala Harris, the Vice President, on the threat she believes Trump is posing to American democracy.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election.
Well, a lot to unpack here with DW's Washington Bureau Chief Ines Paul. She's been following the debate. Ines, a very fiery and fierce debate, both accusing each other of lying. Who do you think came out on top here, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
You know, one probably could say in a normal world, it would be clearly Kamala Harris. She presented some ideas. She really also developed her thoughts. You know, she has a clear understanding how an argument works. She has a clear understanding how you present yourself on a stage as someone who is able to talk with international leaders, to face people like Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping, or also within the United States to conduct a dialogue in critical situations. All skills one would think the President of the United States should have, but here in this time, in this year 2024, it's different. A person like Donald Trump, who is talking about Haitians eating dogs and cats, who is talking about Democrats who want to allow abortions after the woman gave birth to a baby, who is talking about millions of people killed in Ukraine, and I could go on and on and on, who puts out lies over and over again, still might have won this debate, at least for those who believe in him. Simply, they don't care about facts and they won't check the facts behind his lies. So this is a very unprecedented moment in history, and I think this debate and the outcome and the polls we will see will just underline that.
Ines, I want to talk a little bit more about performance here. Now, if we cast our minds back a couple of weeks, observers criticised Kamala Harris for failing to make a strong impression in her CNN interview after her, I guess, victorious appearances at the Democratic convention. In this debate, she was asked about her record and changes in policy on things like fracking and on border control. How much was she able to stand up to this criticism?
Yeah, she really came a long way if you think about not only her CNN interview some days ago, but also when you think about former debates she delivered like many, many years ago. And we must not forget Donald Trump is a total professional. You know, he was running this TV show for 13 years, The Apprentices. So he's a pro, and she had to stand up to him, and she did well. And she also kind of used a very common trick from politicians. When they get asked about something they feel uncomfortable with, they just change the topic or not answer the questions. That's, for example, what she did when it came to migration, which is a really weak spot of hers, as she was responsible for the migration politics of the Biden-Harris government. She just kind of turned the page and attacked Donald Trump, managed to talk about the crowd sizes of his rallies, and he took that bait debate, instead of nailing her down on migration issues, he jumped on that. So in that regard, she performed very professional as a politician. And I mean, these debates are also really tests for the American audience if the candidate would be able to hold up in dicey situations with other world leaders. And I think in that regard, she performed really very well.
Ines, I guess underlying this debate and something that would be of interest to our audiences as well is the focus on not only the war in Gaza, but also the war in Ukraine. Could you just summarise for us how these two conflicts featured in this debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump?
Yeah, Donald Trump gives his standard answer, or gave his standard answer. He always says, if I would have been in the White House, the war in Ukraine would have never started. Putin would have never dared to invade Ukraine. He also says that when it comes to the Hamas attack in Israel. But Trump kind of refused to really answer the question if he would sacrifice territory, Ukrainian territory, for a peace deal. He just said, when I'm in office, even before, if I'm elected and even before I will be president, the war will be over. Kamala Harris, on the other side, reminded the audience that she's really a professional when it comes to international affairs. She met Volodymyr Zelensky only days before the invasion at the Munich Security Conference, by the way, and talked with him. And she described the importance for her to stand with NATO, described NATO as the most important military alliance for the United States, talked about how important it is in her understanding that allies from the United States know that the United States is reliable when it comes to attack from foreign countries on NATO territory. So they really painted a very different picture here. Donald Trump basically just promising something without any proof that he would end this war, and Kamala Harris underlying the importance of the NATO alliance.
That's our Washington Bureau Chief, Ines Paul. Ines, thank you very much for that wrap-up. And we've got double coverage too from the debate's watching parties in Philadelphia. DW's Janelle de Milan is at a Democratic event. Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber is following the Republican side of things. Welcome to both of you. Janelle, we'll start with you. Obviously, the Democrats are going to think Kamala Harris is the clear winner tonight. I'm assuming that, but tell us, what's the reaction been there?
Jared, I know it's hard to believe looking at what you can see behind me, which is not very much, but I swear minutes ago there was a very lively Democrat debate watch party right here. And you're right in saying that, of course, many of them would say that Kamala Harris was the clear winner of that debate. Has to be said beforehand, though, that many of them were aware that Harris had a very high bar to clear, a higher bar than Trump even. She had to play to her strengths in being methodical and prepared, but also be able to pivot and be spontaneous and respond to Trump's attack when that was necessary. She had to be able to maintain her composure without getting rattled. And in the first 20 or 30 minutes, you could see that that was a bit of a challenge for her. She was a bit rattled. She was a bit nervous, and you could really feel the nervousness of the audience rising along with her. They were cheering, yes, but it really did seem to be meant to encourage her from afar. But as the debate wore on and she got more comfortable, the audience also got more comfortable with her. She entered her stride. She was able to talk about things where she was on surer footing, like on abortion and on foreign policy. The audience also started to mirror her reaction to some of Donald Trump's perhaps more outlandish claims, like the one about Haitian immigrants eating cats and dogs. So there was very loud laughter here when he said that. when Kamala Harris made a point of addressing voters directly by saying, Donald Trump has no plan for you. There was very loud applause here. Now, of course, this is a very kind audience. These are all majority Kamala Harris voters already. And it really does remain to be seen whether she will be able to reach those undecided voters, especially if those 20 or 30 minutes in the beginning of the debate are going to be what most people see.
Thanks, Janelle. Over to you, Benjamin. I guess it's safe to assume, on the other hand, that Republicans thought Donald Trump came out on top. What's been the reaction there where you are?
That's right. That really liked when he spoke about migration. And behind me, you can see there still is some recording. There's a studio from Fox News, and many of the attendees are also there now to visit, also to take pictures with the panelists there. There were some moments also where there was a lot of applause and a lot of laughing here. One of them was when Donald Trump says that Kamala Harris has no policies and that he wanted to bring her a MAGA hat that we see in many rallies and that also many of the attendees had here. Also a lot of laughing and applause when he attacked Joe Biden. And of course, the mood was different here compared to the last event, but that was not to the debating from Donald Trump, who is an expert, as we have heard and have we seen over the last presidential debates, but also that was rather due to the fact of the bad debate performance from Joe Biden. But he really knows how to give those answers very quickly, turn it around, also saying, is he really your boss? He's always on the beach. So those are the moments that his supporters really like. And we spoke to some of them also during the commercial break and also at the end, saying that he really is pushing these policies forward, and also said that when it comes to Kamala Harris, and that's also what Donald Trump said in his final statements, she is the Vice President of the United States now. She has been in that position for 3.5 years, and they say if she's promising, why is she not delivering it now? And that's a talking point that we've heard from Donald Trump over and over during the debate, but also to the attendees that we talked to here.
Benjamin, you mentioned Donald Trump being an expert. Someone told me that this is his 7th presidential debate overall over his the 3 presidential campaigns that he's fought. Now, Janelle mentioned what Kamala Harris was trying to do to win over undecided voters. Benjamin, Trump does have a loyal base. Do you think he did anything to win over people that haven't made up their minds yet?
So those who were at this watch party here were definitely his harder fans, but that's also interesting. We spoke to one of the attendees here who said that he thought that Kamala Harris was having a better debate than Donald Trump, that he's a Republican, but that this time he would vote for Kamala Harris, and that's also what she said during the debate, from Republicans supporting her, endorsing her instead of Donald Trump. So those who are here are really his hardcore supporters. It will be also interesting, and we'll try to talk to others who are still undivided, who said, okay, let's look at this debate, let's look at the policies that they presented, and let's also look what they post on social media. And both Ines and Janelle have spoken about these rumors, about this lie about migrants allegedly taking away pets, cats and dogs and eating them. And that's also something that was fact-checked during the debate, but that's interesting because that's the Trump that we also know. He posted 2 AI, so artificial intelligence generated images, one where he was having a lot of cats on his private jet, another one showing cats with weapons. And of course for him it's also an opportunity to move, to change the topic to things that he wants to put on the agenda, instead of answering other questions from the 2 presenters from ABC that were also criticized here. We spoke to some attendees and they told me that they were rather biased to one candidate and not to another by fact-checking Trump, and what they say here, not fact-checking Kamala Harris.
So much to talk about, but unfortunately we're out of time. Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber and Janelle de Malayan, thank you very much to you both.